We just want justice, nothing more, nothing less. So as his family prepares to memorialize George Floyd tomorrow,
Video check. Testing 1, 2. The camera part in the technical difficulties. There I go. Okay, so I got me set a minute. So welcome to another episode from Tag Live, Tag It Morning Motivation with your boy B Miles, here to inspire, motivate, and entertain you during the 2020 revolution that we're now witnessing. So it's so much happening, and I feel like I have some messages to give to everyone from the ancestors who are doing so much right now. But I have some videos that I would like to play first so that we have some context around the words that I will say.
Hello, I'm Rochelle Carey, and this is Al Jazeera bringing you special coverage of the unrest in the United States over the death of an unarmed black man in Minneapolis. For a fourth day now, there have been violent protests all across the country, from New York to Los Angeles. So as night falls across the U.S., curfews are now being enforced in more than a dozen cities. Los Angeles, Atlanta, Portland, and Denver are among those restricting movement to try to curb more violence. In Minneapolis, though, people are again defying the orders and continuing to make their voices heard on the streets. The state's governor has fully mobilized the National Guard for the first time in Minnesota's history. He says he still does not have enough troops. Tim Walz has also called on people to do their part to stop the violence. Scuffles have broken out between police and protesters in New York, where demonstrations are continuing into the night. At least 2 police cars have been set on fire, and thousands of people have demonstrated outside the city Supreme Court, on Brooklyn Bridge, and outside a sports arena. Police cars also set on fire in Miami. What was initially a peaceful protest turned violent. Officers responded with tear gas and fireworks. A curfew has been in place there for just over an hour. So we have reporters standing by.
So that's just a little preview of what's happening at this time. And this is not just national. This is international. Don't forget. This is going on in other countries overseas are participating in this revolution. Because you really got to know who you're talking to right now. You're talking to all these different elders, asking questions about, okay, what is it that you want? And we see you recognize pressure, force, because now all of a sudden these guys up in the charges, you found the other 3 guys, they've been charged. So what, without the pressure, we have just witnessed another man's life taken and just swept under the carpet. I don't want to say what I was going to say because I don't think that America is convinced what they're dealing with yet. And they have some more tricks up their sleeves, they have technology, they have drones, all these techniques they've devised from butchering, bullying the people from abroad. They've devised what they call strategies and techniques. And all your technology that you have. Don't forget everything that you got and all the great people that you're depending on, you got from our ranks of people. Do you think you really have our best? You don't. Our people.
In the final analysis, A protest can shake a tree and can make the fruit fall down. After that fruit is in reach, collecting it and making the jam must follow. The demonstrations and the protests are dramatic and necessary, but building just institutions is more of a slow grind, but equally important. And we have to begin that work as well.
We just want justice, nothing more. So as his family prepares to memorialize George Floyd tomorrow at the North Central University, where Reverend Al Sharpton will deliver the eulogy, and there'll be a lot of people really emotional. We don't want you to lose that emotion as the days and months go by. As Tesman Figueroa just told me, we cannot celebrate because an arrest is not a conviction, and we want justice. You know, we don't want partial justice, we want justice. So I'm grateful with all the lawyers who are working with me on this matter, Attorney Tony Romanucci, Attorney Chris Stewart. We're making a united front. This family is united in their quest for justice, because we believe this is the tipping point in America, where we finally address something they don't like to talk about, Reverend Al, the fact that there are two justice systems in America, one for Black America and one for white America.
You know, he has been facing the pressure to have these charges. The Hennepin County prosecutor has been facing pressure to launch these charges for over a week at this point, and that was an acknowledgement that this will take some time. And you know, Chuck, the one thing that Keith Ellison said, in addition to calling for that calm and patience, he said it doesn't take charges to start working at the systemic issues. And we heard some of that by the governor yesterday when Tim Walz announced that civil charge against the Minneapolis Police Department, not just looking at this death over with George Floyd, but looking at the past 10 years of patterns and practices with this police department, looking to see if there was systemic discrimination. That's a big deal, and that's what the protesters have been calling for. Yes, they wanted these officers arrested. Yes, they wanted to see them charged, and they want to see a conviction, but they want to see change beyond that. People here tell me they're noticing things for the very first time, and they're liking the progress that they're seeing.
What can we do? Number one, we know there are specific evidence-based reforms that, if we put in place today, would build trust, save lives, would not show an increase in crime. Those are in the 21st Century Policing Task Force report. You can find it on obama.org. Number two, a lot of mayors and local elected officials read and supported the task force report, but then there wasn't enough follow-up. So today I am urging every mayor in this country to review your use of force policies with members of your community and commit to report on planned reforms. Number three, every city in this country should be a My Brother's Keeper community, because we have 250 cities, counties, tribal nations who are working to reduce the barriers and expand opportunity for boys and young men of color through programs and policy reforms, public-private partnerships. So go to our website, get working with that, because it can make a difference.
Really important covering of a broad spectrum of solutions. And I think so many people get caught up in either or. They say, stop protesting, go vote. Go vote. Stop. Don't worry about the voting, go fix the policy. They say abolishing police is too far, do the policy work. The policy work is not enough, do the abolishing of the police. We have to recognize that actually all of this makes us better, not just because all of that conversation pushes our plans, but also because they work in conjunction with one another. So we need folks who are solving immediate issues, like issues of use of force, which we heard President Obama call on mayors to look at closely. My organization, Campaign Zero, has been working closely on that. And we also need people to have the long-term vision for what safety and community looks like beyond having a traditional police department. I'm really glad that a lot of people who tuned in got to hear from voices on the ground, like Philippe Cunningham, council person from Minneapolis and national voices like Rashad Robinson from Color, people can figure out exactly where they fit in to the role that they need to play in order to do this work.
Okay, so that was interesting. So I'm going to turn this off because I don't want any noise while I talk. Those were all suggestions and requests by our elders, whom you can tell are still somewhat confused about what we really need. Those requests and suggestions were made by people who march. You're not dealing with marchers right now. These are revolutionaries. You're dealing with the youth. And I'm going to tell you, that's not what they want. That would be I guess that would be an option that would be in your favor, because you still get to sit at the table, negotiate. No. What the youth want, let's set a date. The date is May 25th, 2020. All of the politicians, the political people in any serious positions of power, you need to just step down and step aside. Your services are no longer needed. There's nothing wrong with the system. The system works just fine. You're just not using it. You need righteous men to exercise these kinds of responsibilities. Righteous men just go with the system of right versus wrong. Now you're using laws, because the further you get from righteousness, the more laws, because it gets complicated, then you got to interpret them and everything. We're not dealing with that. You guys need to step aside. Your services are no longer needed. We do need to get political, guys. There is a political aspect to this, but there are other things that are playing out right now with the ancestors, and they're just calling out a lot of things. They're going to reveal or discover a lot of things, and a lot of things are going to be addressed. And this is going to be interesting, but I don't think they're finished yet. So let us continue.